When are you going to do an AMA? Right now! Is this the first question in the video? No. None. Okay, let's see. How am I going to do this? Start with the fun ones, or start with the serious ones, the personal, or the channel ones? I don't know who. Do you have a shiny Pokemon? I don't actually. I've never had one. Kinda sad, but that's the situation. What game do you prefer? Minecraft or Terraria? Definitely Terraria. Do you have any pets? I sadly don't. I had a Chinese algae eater for a long time. It was like the greatest fish ever. It would, like, I've never seen a fish actually play before. It would roll rocks around the bottom of the tank a whole bunch, and like it had a few tetras as buddies in the tank, but they eventually died because tetras don't live that long, but Chinese algae eaters live forever. But it did eventually die, and in time too, like, as horrible as it is to say, like, it died just in time, right, like a few months before I had to move. And now at this apartment that I'm living in, I'm not allowed to have pets beyond, like, fish or lizards or something. And my roommate actually has a lizard.
It's a lizard! Leopard gecko! His name is Ichi, and it just squeaked or something.
What equipment do you use for making your videos, including equipment to capture audio? I actually get asked this question a lot, so I have a collection that I link to occasionally in my Games Grabber page that is just all of the equipment that I use and have used and use today, and it's all up to date. I haven't gotten anything new since. Actually, I have. I'll have to put that on immediately after editing this video. So yeah. There's a link in the description if you want to know the equipment I use. Which leads me right into Games Grabber. Games Grabber is a cool website to help you manage your collections of games. From games you own, to games you want, games that you think fit a certain genre that you want to show off to someone, anything really. Plus, it saves links to all of them for you to buy later. There's a link in the description for you to check it out, and maybe give me a follow on there. How did you get associated with Games Grabber? Basically, long story short, I get approached a lot via email for promotions and sponsors and all that. I mean, I could, if I wanted to, accept all of them, but then there'd be an ad, like an in-video ad in every single one of my videos for something different every single time. I don't want that. I'm sure you guys don't want that. And, but the reason why I went with them was because I legitimately think that site's cool. Having a place to put collections of games to have some layer of interactivity with my videos. So, like, I'll have a top 10 video and I'll say, and I have honorable mentions on my Games Grabber page. So it's a good way to have a level of interactivity. I said that already, but yeah. And at first, because I had never heard of the site before they approached me, so I was a little skeptical at first. But then I saw that they also sponsor Kid Icarus, who I love, so I was like, sure. I mean, he's doing it. I love that guy. What software do you use to edit your videos? I use Sony Vegas Pro 13, and I have other programs that I use on the side sometimes to, like, help with certain things that Sony Vegas is kind of weak on, and I have all those on my Games Grabber collection that I mentioned earlier. Will you ever do more of your game theory rebuttals? Probably not. I mean, it's not... I don't want to be known as the guy that makes game theory rebuttals, so that's why I've been... I mean, more than anything, I get asked to do that. And really, it's not something I want to do. Though the few times that I have in recent memory, being the Star Fox video and the Samus Morph Ball Part 2 video, I didn't specifically put, like, in the description or anything that it's a game theory rebuttal, because I didn't want it to advertise itself as that. It's just, I'm making my own version of something he's done already, but I came to a completely different conclusion. Which, I mean, still, they're all just theories, and there's counteracting theories all the time in science. Did anyone give you any flack for doing rebuttals of game theory? Oh, heck yes, tons. And, like, even videos that don't even mention him, I get flack for, oh, you're just a game theory ripoff. Like, my favorite comment involving that was, I don't remember, like, the name of the person that posted it, but it stuck out in my mind, because it was, like, wow, this theory was incredible, and very well edited and thought out, but I'm going to have to leave you a dislike for just being a game theory ripoff. My friend called you a game theory ripoff. What do you have to say about that? It's like Coke and Pepsi. NASCAR and F1 racing. They're similar, but they're not exactly the same. I mean, you wouldn't say Papa Murphy's Pizza is a ripoff of Round Table. You wouldn't say Nike is ripping off Skechers. You know, unless your friend only buys things at one store, only has one brand of any particular item he owns, then either he needs to get his priorities straight or he's a hypocrite. Because it's one thing to be a ripoff. It's another thing to be inspired of, which leads me right into my next question. What inspired you to do YouTube? It was actually MatPat. So, like, I will be the first to say, yes, I was inspired by him. That does not, I mean, that would be like saying JonTron is a ripoff of AVGN. That would be like saying Kid Icarus is a ripoff of JonTron. That'd be saying that Pro Jared and PBG and Space Hamster and all of them are ripoffs of JonTron, who is in turn a ripoff of AVGN, who is in turn a video game reimagining ripoff of the Nostalgia Critic. Do you watch any of those people? If you do, you are watching ripoffs, so there is no reason. And plus, people have been overthinking video games, or maybe not video games specifically, but have been overthinking comic book characters and movies and stuff since like the 70s. If you honestly think Game Theory was the first one and isn't ripping off anybody, then you have a problem. And I mean, there's no such thing as originality anymore. Everything is a ripoff of anything nowadays. This is just one of those topics that gets to me because people are dumb. But as for specifically what inspired me, like I had always wanted to do a channel like this for years. I just never bothered, I guess. But then it was Game Theory's video on crossovers that finally, because he asked all of his fans, which that was before he even had like 50,000 subscribers, I believe. But he asked all of his fans to continue his crossover web and, like, see how far this goes, because it's awesome. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do that. And then I did. So my very first Gnoggin video was continuing that crossover web that he asked everyone to do. So, like, really, I'm just listening to what he wants. And you should, if you're a fan of him, you should also want what he wants. But then, of course, years later, people on those videos that were posted immediately called me this just proves you're an even bigger ripoff of Game Theory because you have a crossover series and Trailer Drake has a crossover series on the Game Theorist channel. It's like, mine have been around for so much longer than that. I can't be a ripoff of something that didn't exist back when I made it. Why did you start YouTube and how long are you planning to do it for? Well, I just mentioned the inspiration, but as for specifically the why, because I was bored over one summer. And so, like, when MatPat asked all of his fans to continue his crossover web, I was like, yeah, I'm bored. That'll be the project that I do over summer. And how long do I plan on doing it? Until I get bored. Which doesn't seem to be anytime soon. Or if something forces... Why, I'm blown out. Hello, white balance. Hello. There we go. Or until something forces me to leave. Like if YouTube crashes or something. Is Loxton your actual name? Yo, Loxton, is that your real name or just an alias? Fun story about that. Loxton was a name I created for my internet self in freshman year of high school, so that was like 6, 7, or 8 years ago? I don't remember. It's been so long. But it actually takes my real name, which is Austin Lockwood, takes the first part of my last name and mixes it. I'm not sure if I'm doing the hand motions correctly, but takes the first part of my last name, last part of my first name, merges them together into the new name. I thought that was really cool and clever, and it's been my username ever since. Are you British? No, I am a born American, though I am a descendant from Scotland, Wales, Germany, wherever. What was your first game? My first game was Tiny Toon Adventures Buster Busts Loose on the Super Nintendo when I was like 3. What got you into gaming? How old are you? I am going to be 22 in like 2 weeks, so I might as well just say 22. But what got me into gaming, I can easily just say my parents. Some of my earliest memories involving gaming was like watching my dad play the original Zelda, watching my dad play Age of Empires, and, you know, playing PC games and stuff. And then that got me interested. And then as a young lad I was always more interested in video games than I was cartoons, because they were interactive. That's like the coolest thing ever. Do you have a girlfriend? I actually have a wife.
Hello.
Has it been like 5 years or so?
Yeah.
And then we've been married for almost a year, because it'll be a year in February.
Uh-huh.
Cool.
Yes.
We're wearing the same color.
Uh-huh.
That's weird.
Very weird.
Do you have any fan art? Boom, bam, boom. Yes. Why do you remind me of Gaijin Goomba? Maybe because I'm large and have a beard? Goatee thing? Maybe. But that does remind me of like one of my favorite YouTube comments, which was, you look like the love child of JonTron and Peanut Butter Gamer. Gnoggin, who did you want to win in the Smash Bros. Fighter ballot? Well, since the leak that there were going to be 3 new characters, and then, I'm sure everyone figured that meant the top 3 ballot winners. But the 3 that I wanted the most were... It was Isaac, Black Mage, and Ganon that I wanted the most. Though, who did you vote for in the Super Smash Bros. Fighter ballot? And are you happy with the roster we already have? Though despite wanting those particular 3 to win, I also expected neither of those 3 to have that big of a chance, so instead I jumped on the bandwagon and voted for King K. Rool. Because he would probably be a 4th or 5th pick of mine, but yeah, and since he had a huge following of people voting for him, I figured I'd jump on that bandwagon and stuff. And I am happy with the roster we have. It sucks that Wolf's still not back, because I really liked Wolf. My roommate really liked Wolf. How excited are you that Bayonetta being in Super Smash Bros? Significantly more excited than I thought I would be. I mean, Bayonetta was probably... Like, those 3 that I mentioned earlier, those were the 3 that I wanted because they were the only 3 that I thought could make it in, really. Because, like, Bayonetta would be awesome, but I was one of those people that thought, no, she's too sexy, she's too... guns. She's 4 guns, actually. So I figured that she wouldn't be possible, but... Now that she's in, man, I am very excited to have her in it. Retro gamer or modern gamer? Can I be both? Is that your real voice? Yes. Like, I never use voice modifiers, unless it's obvious, like I sound like a robot or something. But, yeah, I've been told I have quite the range, and I often portray myself as being a little more on the epic side when I do Noggin recordings. But, yeah, this is how I normally talk, though I don't, like, in real life I don't talk that often. But when I do Noggin, whatever the word is. But I do go quite high sometimes even, too. I talk a bunch. I don't know. I do voices. It's a thing that I do. Hi, Luxton. Would you ever be interested in voice acting? I think you'd be great at it. I actually had a moment where I was thinking about doing voice acting because I actually have considered it. I think it'd be a fun side project. For like maybe a month or 2, I legitimately wanted to do that for a living. But, it's not the most practical job to aspire to because it's very hard to get into. But, like, if any game developer or any cartoon animator or something was looking for a voice actor and they were like, hey, you should do voice acting for me, I would totally be down for it. Because I think I can do well. Do well, yeah. And I have lots of different voices I could make. And I don't think I've actually ever done this on camera before. But I can sound I've been told it sounds like Donald Duck, but I don't really think so.
But I can talk like this. Oh, some people think it's annoying, but some people think it's cute. My wife loves it. She thinks it's so adorable. Yeah. Oh, I know. I draw applause.
Would you ever do an anime theory? I don't see why not. I'm trying to expand. Do you like anime? And which is your favorite? I had a huge anime phase in high school. Though, recently I haven't been watching nearly as much as I did back then. As for my favorites, Code Geass, Gurren Lagann, Kill la Kill. I did like some Trigun and Cowboy Bebop. I'm watching One Punch Man right now. Have you watched or read One Punch Man? Yeah. What did you have for breakfast? Whenever I do eat breakfast, it's usually just a banana. What is the channel logo's inspiration? Where did you get your logo idea? This is one of those questions that got asked a lot, as well as the channel name inspiration. And, like, back when I made the channel name, I didn't like it. I settled on it because I couldn't think of anything else, but I needed a name. And yeah, so I was just thinking, video games, smarts, people using their brains and the heads. Use your head. Yeah, that'll be the saying. Use your head. Heads, noggin. Use your noggin. Haha. Silent G, because silent letters and stuff, and the G can stand for gaming. Oh, that's good, but I mean, I'm not like super into it, but yeah, I guess I'll use it, and then if I come up with a better idea later, I'll change it. But then, now it's like a brand that I'm stuck with. But it's grown on me, definitely. As for the logo, initially this was the logo, and it's like a skull that's a question mark, but the top half of that was me tracing clip art, and then like editing it, but like the bulk of it is tracing clip art, so I changed it later. And then eventually that changed again, but yeah, a skull, because I've always loved skulls. I think they're adorable. Like, not realistic skulls, but like cutesy skulls, I think are adorable. And then it just fits the noggin. Use your head, use your brain, use your noggin, your skull, and all that. It just fits the branding. Would you ever change your logo if a fan sent you a new design that you liked? That's actually how the most recent change to the logo happened. I mean, I had mentioned that I'm doing a big channel redesign, and so I had like 6 different people keep sending me them working on my logo and making updates to it and stuff. And then it was very similar to this one. And then I was like, ooh, I love that. I'm going to take it. I'm going to edit it a bit, but I'm going to use that as the base. And then I remade the logo based off of their work. Are you friends with MatPat? I wish. That'd be awesome. If MatPat ever decided to return the favor and try to debunk some of your theories, do you think he'd be successful? I mean, probably. I mean, I could go back and rebuke some of my previous theories. I mean, something people have to realize about these theories is that A, it's all for fun, and B, because it's theorizing and speculation, there's always going to be holes. Like, and the only way you could cover all of them is if you spend hours on each theory, which no one wants to sit through that to find out if Link is gay or something. That's going to be a video someday. Like, I mean, here's just one very quick example. The video I'm asked most of all to try and debunk of game theories is his one about Link being dead in Majora's Mask. And, like, so I looked into it very briefly, and so, like, you could just debunk the whole thing. The idea is he died when he fell down the hole in the tree stump at the very beginning of the game, and then everything in the game is his final thoughts of the stages of grief and stuff, because he's dying. But Zelda universe, no matter how high you fall from, you always take just a little tick of damage on your heart, of fall damage. That just debunks the whole thing right there. One little hole. One tiny hole. Whole thing's wrong. And that's possible with almost every single of any of these videos. Like, any of mine, any of game theories, any of, like, insert theorizing YouTuber here. All of their videos could be debunked with one little fact. That's why it's a theory, that's why it's fun. It's not meant to be taken seriously, and people that do take them seriously are silly. What is your favorite game theory that wasn't made by you? This one. The MatPat's old Banana Wars video. Didn't you say that once you had an idea of a game theory, but MatPat beat you to it? Is this true? Yes. Twice? Though I can only specifically remember one. That was the Creeper is a Plant video thing, or like the anatomy of the creeper. I forget what he titled it. But like, I had a whole script out for that video and everything, and it was like, there was the video I was working on, and then there was that one was in the queue, and that was the one I was going to make next. But then he released his video to it, so I was thinking, crap. And even though I had a completely different style of video than from what his was, it was basically the same information. We basically both came to the same conclusion. I just decided, screw it, scrap it. People are just going to call me a ripoff. Do you know Treesicle? If so, what do you think of a collab with MatPat and Treesicle? I'm not sure if you mean me doing a collab with MatPat and Treesicle, or if you mean like those two having a collab, but I have talked with Treesicle. They're cool guys. I've done this video with them, and I've done this video with them. So if you haven't seen those are there. Yeah, I'd do another one with them. And yeah, I guess they could both do a collab together. I don't have a problem with it. If you had a chance to collab with MatPat, would you take it or leave it? Oh, I would take it. I mean, that'd be like meeting your hero. That's like a kid meeting his hero. As I said, he was my inspiration and everything. So I would love to even just meet him and just shake his hand and be like, dude, you've inspired me to do what I now do for a living. And it would be amazing. It would be an experience, definitely. DC or Marvel? Really, that question to me is Batman or Marvel. In which case, it's Marvel, but Batman is a close second. Have you read any comic books? If so, which ones do you enjoy? I've read plenty of comic books. I guess you could say it's one of my hobbies outside of video games. But, like, I loved... The first ones that come to mind when I think about ones I loved was the whole Civil War saga. But way more. My absolute favorite are the Annihilation events. It's the whole galactic Marvel, so it barely tangentially touches upon Earth in the Marvel universe, which... I feel like the space Marvel everyone is way cooler. I mean, Nova is my favorite Marvel superhero. The Guardians of the Galaxy are my favorite group of Marvel superheroes, and that was before the movie. So when they announced that the movie was happening, I was simultaneously worried they were going to ruin them, and super excited, because they're making a movie on, like, my favorite thing. Have you heard of Magic the Gathering? Oh, have I? High school, again, I played it way more than I should have. I had 2 decks that I mainly used. A healing deck and a red, white, green mana deck. And the strategies to the healing deck was I'd heal a lot. To the point where, I think my favorite battle was one where eventually... The whole strategy was based around me gaining health, and that basically makes me invincible, and then I slowly tick away the opponent's health. So... It did get to the point where eventually I had 8 different cards that all made it so every single time anyone lays down a monster, or a beast, I forget what they're called. I haven't played it in years, just to let you know. Every time someone would lay it down, I'd gain 1 health for each of those cards. I had 8, so every time someone laid something down that was a beast, or a summon, I think that's what they were called, I'd gain 8 health. And I noticed there's some people that play with rules where there is a max health, but we never did. Oh, until... I started winning all the time with this strategy. But it would get to the point where I'd have thousands of health, which is ridiculous. And then, what was it? There was some card that would summon X 1/1 unicorns, or whatever. X being your health. So, eventually, and it cost like 10 white mana to use, but... I'd use it. Let's just say I have 100 health, just to keep it simple. But when I did it, I'd already have multiples hundreds health. But so I'd use that card, summon 100 unicorns, and then because each of them count as a new summon, each of the 8 cards I'd use would stack, and I'd gain 800 health. And then I had multiples of those, so I wasn't allowed to use that deck for very long. Especially because it also had a card that would make it so, like, if at the end of the turn after the one this card is placed, I have over 40 health, I automatically win the game. I'm surprised that card was even made. And the idea behind my mana deck was, you'd be tanking, and I had so many cards that just cost tons of mana, especially ones that were X mana, and then however many mana you use to summon it, that becomes its power. So... and it was like, my heal deck was like that big, it was like the minimum amount of cards, and then, at least back when I played, there wasn't a rule about a maximum, so I would, it was a thick deck, and most of it was mana, and I'd have cards that would make it so that I can place as many mana in one turn as I want, that I could have as big of a hand as I want, to make it so that you have to draw 2 cards every single time, like everyone has to, but then since they don't have cards that let them have an infinite deck, or hand, then... They have to discard a bunch of their cards. It was just a big mess. I'd have the table, boom. Whenever I played Magic the Gathering, it was always over the top with me. Is there anything you absolutely refuse to talk about or make a theory about? Any forbidden topics that you just won't touch? I've never actually thought about that before. I'd like to say that there aren't any, and I'd like to be just completely open about talking about anything, but at the same time, I'd also like the channel to stay PG-13... maybe borderline R if the topic was important enough to be worth talking about. Short answer, no, there isn't really any topic I wouldn't touch. But long answer, maybe, but I don't know what it would be. What's your favorite game on Wii U not previously mentioned? I don't think I've mentioned Bayonetta in any of my videos. So, Bayonetta and the Bayonetta duology. Do you or have you ever done or wanted to do a Let's Play of any kind? I actually have a Let's Play channel. I don't really advertise it much on here. But, yeah, link in the description. Has anyone ever recognized you in public from your channel? Twice. Once at the Fallout 4 Midnight release, the person in front of me of line was like, "You look familiar. Are you from YouTube?" And then the second time was at a Smash 4 tournament. One of the people that was in the tournament was like, "You look familiar. Are you Gnoggin?" How did you meet the other people on this channel? So the Nortundo guy, and the Game Bites guys, and I'll mention Arlo later, but they've all been friends of mine since forever. Arlo was a friend of a friend that lives just across town, so that's how we met. Toby approached me asking for advice back when he was still starting his channel, and I was like, "Whoa, I like your stuff. We should get together." And then Chris, the guy that does the Chronicles series, he approached me forever ago, asked me to do an interview thing with him. That's how we met. And then later on, he was like, "Hey, I have this idea for a video series." And then that became Chronicles. And then I have plenty of editors and assistants, and they all basically met me the same-ish way, that being either through Nogginair submissions, or they approached me after I had asked, "Hey, do you have editing skills? I'm looking for an editor." And then that's how we met. What are your personal thoughts about Arlo? He's cool, though I suppose I do understand why he has a little bit of flack surrounding him, because, I mean, even though it's 2016, I get that people don't like him because he's blue. Do you ever feel awkward watching some of your old videos? Oh, heavens yes. Did you ever imagine that you would get more than 200,000 subscribers when you first started this channel? I mean, people always say in these kinds of videos that, "Oh no, it was just a total surprise, but honestly, like, the thought did cross my mind. I mean, even if it was just a joke. So yeah, I was like, then I'll become a big YouTuber and I'll just be doing that for a living." So like, yeah, the thought crossed my mind, and I was thinking it's possible, though I wouldn't be surprised if it never happened. Are any Star Wars videos coming? Yes, though I'm thinking maybe I'll wait until the next Star Wars movie starts coming out, since it'll be more topical. Are you planning on doing more film theories after the Jar Jar one? Yes. I've been wanting to expand Noggin for a while now, and I figured the Jar Jar video was a good first step into films. But yeah, I wanted to get into comic books, into anime, manga, and just even touch upon things that aren't necessarily media related, which is why I did like the origin of the word geek video. That was a good first step. Jar Jar was a good second step. I have a X-Men video in the works to be released around the time that the X-Men movie gets released. I have, just plans to expand ever more. Even get into things that aren't necessarily media related, like I'm thinking of doing a video on self-driving cars. Right now, working on a video about AI and like AI rights and stuff, and like the psychological and moral aspects of all that. What is the theory you put the most effort, time, dedication, research into? Easily, especially since it just came out, the Jar Jar one. Oh my word, I've been more stressed about that one than I've ever been stressed about any video, especially because I wanted it to come out at the same time as the Star Wars movie, and then the Star Wars movie came out, and I'm like, crap, it's not finished yet. But, yeah, that took over 60 hours, I'd say. Other than that, the Donkey Kong War video, the autism video, the furries video, basically all my big videos take a lot of time and effort. What do you think about Kingdom Hearts as a whole? The first one, I think, is overrated, though good. It's definitely good for its time, but I mean, looking back on it, it's easily one of the worst ones. The second one is amazing and blew me away as a kid, and it's still fun to this day, and because of that, I am very much looking forward to Kingdom Hearts 3, especially because of how beautiful it looks. But I've never really played many of the side ones, except for like Chain of Memories and a little bit of Dream Drop Distance. I think it was that one. Do you actually like Kingdom Hearts? I ask because I feel like you give off mixed opinions. And yeah, that's because my opinions are mixed. Like, when I played the first one, I loved it to death. But that was back when it was new. So it didn't have as much competition. Looking back upon it now, it had tons of problems. I mean, that doesn't mean it's a bad game, though. It's still a very good game. The second one, a lot of fun. I still really enjoy the second one. Yeah, so I give off mixed opinions because my opinions are mixed. Do you actually understand the Kingdom Hearts plot? Basically, yes. Like, as far as the base idea of the plot goes, as far as details go, and like who's doing what, and like how it all intertwines throughout all the side games and everything, no, I don't have a single clue. What was your favorite subject when going through school? This might be a shocker to you. Digital media, as in Photoshop, video editing, all that. If you wanted a more, like, traditional answer, though, geometry? I like tangible math. How did you do in school? Straight A's. Until, like, junior year of high school, and I got a C in chemistry. If you were to play a game at a competitive level, what would it be? Probably either Smash 4 or TF2. I'm not as good at Smash 4 as I was in the previous Smash Bros, just because I don't have as much time to put into playing it nonstop. But, like, but when I did play TF2, like, I don't know about competitive level, but I did occasionally go to competitive servers and did okay. But, like, generally I would always be at or near the top of the leaderboards for the matches, so I was pretty good at TF2. So if I wanted, I could spend a lot more time doing that and getting better and better and do it competitively. But do you play TF2 often, and what class do you main? Is it still your favorite game? I don't play it often anymore, but in the, like, 2 years that I did play it, I played it a lot. Like, I have over 1,000 hours in just that short time span. And plus, that was while I was going to college and stuff, so I had very little free time. So basically, my free time was TF2 for a good chunk of life. And when I did play it, I was mostly Scout. Scout was definitely my main. And then secondary, Soldier Medic? And I wouldn't really say it's my favorite game as of right now, but looking back upon everything that I've played, and then at the time when I was playing TF2, it was definitely my favorite game, and that's still probably the most fun I've had with the game ever since. So, yeah, I'd still say it was my favorite game, even though I don't play it anymore. Dream car? Current car? Dream car? A Tesla. Current car? A 1997 Ford Contour. That barely runs. I'm currently in the market for a new car, and let me tell you, it's not going to be a Tesla. Do you like my channel icon? 3. It is very adorable. If you could be a Saiyan, DBZ, or a Jedi, Star Wars, which would you choose and why? The Force seems a lot more useful than suddenly being buff and have spiky hair. What are your pet peeves about video game fan bases? Why does everything have to be an absolute? Why is everything either the best ever or the worst ever? Why is there no in-between? Why is it that you can't criticize, like even barely, a good game? Like, yeah, it's good, we know. That doesn't mean we can't point out its flaws, or even just make fun of its flaws. And then, why is it if you like a bad game, you're like the worst person ever? How big is your amiibo collection? It is this big. I'm gonna have to count them, aren't I? 41. Initially, I only wanted the 12 original Smashers, and, like, some of my favorites that are my mains now, but it didn't stop. It just didn't stop growing. Nintendo owns me. Are you a brony or work with them? My wife? Kind of. Like, I work with her and she's a brony. If you can count her as a brony, because she's a she. But, no. Myself, I am not. I don't have anything against them, though. What inspired you to make the video about the existence of furries? How do you feel about it so far being your most viewed video? Well, that's actually an interesting question, because I kind of don't remember why I started that idea. Because I'm not a furry. I have a few acquaintances that are, but they're acquaintances, not necessarily close friends. So, I don't know. I guess because I feel like I love looking at psychology and what makes people tick. Why do people have certain interests and likes and dislikes and stuff? And I always feel like that particular group of people get way more hate than they deserve. Not that they deserve any, but I mean, like, there's always going to be some level of hate towards literally every group of people, but I feel like furries get way more than average, even for being as strange as they are. So I felt like clearing some things up would be cool, so that's why I did it. Plus there are plenty of games that have furry characters, and some of them are my favorites. Like, I loved Dust. I loved Sonic the Hedgehog, especially Sonic 3 and Knuckles. So, that really... just one idea led to another, and eventually it got into what makes the people that are super into that kind of art style, why do they like it? And then that evolves into what's with the fetish. Anyway, how do I feel about it being my most viewed video? Yeah, it's definitely going to be my first video to reach 1 million views. But, I mean, I don't dislike that it's the number one. I mean, I'd prefer if, like, the Jar Jar video, or, like, the Smash Bros. Autism video, or even some of my clickbaity videos, I wouldn't mind if they were my first to a million. Yeah, so I don't mind that the furry one's the first to a million, but, I mean, that's, like, a not specifically video game-related video, so it's weird, kind of. Though it's also understandable, because I did put a lot of work and effort into that one. So I'm glad that it's a video that I spent a lot of time on that ends up being my first to a million, instead of something that I just kind of threw together, like that one. Jeez. Thoughts on Undertale? Boom! Are you ever going to do any Undertale videos? I would love to. But, like, every idea I come up with, I start doing research on, and then I find out someone's already made a really good video on it, and I don't want to take that amazingness from them. How do you set up recordings for videos? Complicatedly. Here we go. Let me take this. Flip that around. Alright. So, I have to move the couch literally every single time I start recording something. That green screen is usually right here whenever I do green screen stuff, which is also fairly new. When I do simple videos like this, I have just these two lights, and then there's the microphone, and then the camera stand, and yeah, basically every single time I have to rearrange furniture. And when I do use the green screen, I have two other lights that I use that are not the umbrella lights. Or, no, I use two of those to record. Someday for sure, I will have a studio that I use. Yeah, that'll be awesome. Of course, by studio, I mean... Oh, hello! Hello! Ooh. Of course, by studio, I mean... a spare bedroom. Someday I'll be able to afford a place with an extra bedroom. Alright, next question. Do you regret buying / not buying anything, like a game or collectible? First thing that comes to mind immediately is the Legendary Edition, or the Collector's Edition, whatever they called it, of Skyrim. Like, I had access to getting the PC version with the awesome Alduin statue and everything when it was, like, on discount, so it was, like, $40. And I didn't buy it because I was with my parents, and they both... So I was still under 17, so I couldn't buy it myself. And they were like, oh, this game's rated M, even though I had played tons of them by then. But, yeah, so... I wasn't able to get it. And now that Alduin statue is, like, $200, and I really want it, but... So yeah, that's like my biggest regret. Plus, my wife is super into dragons. She has like a huge dragon collection. So like, and she also loved Skyrim. So like a dragon statue of Alduin would be amazing. How do you make your hair so sexy? Seriously, what products do you use and how do you style it to be so soft? I literally use, and like this was a question that got asked a lot, was why is my hair so amazing? I literally use whatever shampoo is cheapest that week. But yeah, genetics, I guess, is why my hair is cool. Genetics, and I shake sometimes in the middle of recording videos. Usually only when my hair becomes a mess. But, yeah. Your hair is sort of weird sometimes, and others not. Why? Well, I'm not sure what you mean by weird, but sometimes it just does whatever it wants. Like, I can, like, reset it by washing it, like, taking a shower and stuff, but then once it dries, whatever it's doing, that's what it's doing that day. So... yeah, there's nothing I can do about it, sometimes. How do you have blonde hair but a black beard? It's actually not black, but I can see that some of the videos, the lighting might be a little off. But, my hair actually, all of everything is dirty blonde, is the color, which means it's patches of brown, patches of blonde. And my facial hair specifically, like, this part is brown, but then if I were to grow a mustache out, it would be blonde, which is why I don't grow a mustache out, because a blonde mustache... it's weird. And then, like, my eyebrows are brown, and, like, the sides of my hair is browner, and then the top of it's blonder, and so it's just dirty blonde. It's a mess. Why are you so handsome? I've actually never gotten as many comments as I do now about my looks until I started YouTube. So, like, I never really thought of myself as handsome, but... though I say I've never gotten as many compliments, I've also never gotten as many insults, so I guess it kind of balances itself out. What is the saddest thing in a video game that got you in the feels, and why? Immediately the first thing I think of is The Walking Dead Season 1. It was either the last or second to last episode, but you're like going through this deserted town, rummaging through houses and stuff, and you stumble across these two skeletons, so corpses, that are in a bed together, and they're holding hands, and they, like, you can tell what had happened to them, because they were holding hands, and one of them just had a gun in his hand, and you could tell that they had their heads together, and the one dude just pulled the trigger, and the one bullet killed both of them, and, like, it had just immediately made me think of me and my wife, though at the time she was just my girlfriend, but still, it's, like, even thinking about it now, I'm getting a little heavy in the eyes. Yeah, that got me more than anything, even still. The Walking Dead Season 1, I highly recommend it. Also, do you like Xenoblade Chronicles? No. Like, the story? Amazing. Like, wow. The story. I basically watched a Let's Play that skipped the grindiness of the gameplay, only showed the important story bits, and yeah, the story of Xenoblade Chronicles and Xenoblade Chronicles X, amazing. Phenomenal. Fantastic, even. Like, I love that kind of stuff. But the gameplay isn't for me. Follow-up question. What are your thoughts on Donald Trump? I think he looks like a sweet potato. And no matter who wins this presidency, we all lose. Do you have any other job besides YouTube? If so, what is it? And what state do you live in? I live in California, and what were you doing before Gnoggin existed? Do you use Gnoggin as a full-time job now? He works behind the camera at his local TV station for the news. Hate to do his job for him, but yes, he did a video a while back about how he quit his job to do YouTube full-time. I'm actually impressed that, like, people remember that. People know my life and stuff. It's still weird. It's like, obviously some of you would, because I'm putting it out there, but at the same time, it's weird. It's weird, but yes, before I did Gnoggin, actually while I was doing Gnoggin for a while too, because I've been doing this for almost 3 years, I worked at a local TV station, the Northern California ABC News station, and it was a lot of fun. I worked as the cameraman, audio director, video editor. The official terminology was production assistant, which means I worked on the production side of things, but really what that means is you're going to do something today, and it's whatever they need you to do that day. So for me, my strong suits were always working the audio boards, which is turning everyone's microphones on and off when they now over to this guy for the weather, and then I have to turn off their mic, turn on the other mic, adjust the levels throughout the whole show, so if they start raising their voice, I have to lower it. And then I was the cameraman, which means I have to operate all the cameras, and you know how, like, news studios, they'll, like, have a bunch of different camera angles, and it's like, here's the anchor, here's the other anchor, here's the anchor from this angle, here's the weather guy, here's the weather guy's green screen, here's the sports dude, here's the reporter, here's the other reporter. So there's, like, 12 different camera angles. There were 3 cameras. So you had to move them around all the time, and on the spot. Like, okay, you have 4 seconds to move this camera from here to over there, get it focused, get it zoomed in the right way. So, like, you had to be really good at what you were doing and, like, adjusting everything. Like, adjusting the zoom and the focus before you're even over to where the thing is you're supposed to be zoomed in on, focused on. So it was a lot of muscle memory, but it was a lot of fun. I learned a lot. So, like, yeah. And before working at a news station, I just worked at a CVS pharmacy. Nothing big. Before that, I was always just a full-time student. Any plans after YouTube? I can't imagine you doing theories while being 70 years old. I haven't actually thought that far ahead. I've never really been the type to want to think that far ahead. Like, maybe 5 years. But maybe in like 10, 20, 15 years, I'll move on to doing, like, video game news reporting? Game journalism, maybe. But on the video side, just move over to doing reviews. Because reviewing a game is way less intensive than doing the kind of in-depth editing and analysis that I do now. So, like, eventually I'm sure eventually I'll get tired of doing this, but that's 20, 30 years down the line, maybe. I'd also be super into video game writing. Another possibility would be that I'd go back to TV news production, because I did have fun with that and I have good experience there now, though I wouldn't do it in the position I was before. Instead of being a production assistant, I'd want to be like a director or a producer. Something along those lines. Gagate. You know what I mean. Will you do episodes surrounding the multiple discussions within Gagate? Journalism problems, lay culture critique meme, how to understand gaming culture 101, etc. I've thought about it, I really have, but in the end I just decided that's something I'd rather not get involved with because there's too much drama surrounding it. I've never really been into drama, and honestly, my opinions would probably just piss off both sides because I'm moderate. Ooh, I'm not an absolute in one or the other. So, it's just not something I'd want to spend a lot of time on. Though, maybe once things start either getting way too out of hand, if that all starts up again, or if it finally settles down and is no longer a thing, I'll be like, okay, boom, now I can do a video about the history of the whole arc of what happened as more of a historical documentary as opposed to taking a side and shouting my opinions and stuff. In RPGs, action or Japanese, do you usually go for ranged, one-handed, two-handed, or magic, if given a chance to choose? I've never actually thought about it before, but now that I am, I'm realizing that I very much stick to the same thing, though it does depend on the actual subgenre of RPG it is. For instance, JRPGs like the Tales series, I'm almost always the super fancy sword dancer kind of person. In games like Skyrim, I've always been a archer as my favorites, archer thieves. But then in RPGs that are dungeon crawlers like Diablo and such, I'm exclusively a wizard usually. I love the varied magic attacks and stuff, area of effect damage and whatnot. Do you like H3H3 Productions and or Filthy Frank? Please answer this question, I'll die if you don't. Exclusively to save your life, I will tell you that I've never actually heard of H3H3 Productions, but I have heard of Filthy Frank, and I'm not a fan, but I'm not a fan. I mean, he's just not someone I watch, but he's not someone I hate either. What is the process of writing a script like? If you have hit writer's block, what do you do for ideas and inspiration? I can't actually remember a time I've actually hit writer's block aside from starting. I have a huge list of video ideas. Like, it probably has... Like, if I were to release 2 a week, which would be crazy with some of those ideas, but if I were to release 2 a week, I'd be set for 3 years. Because there's probably 150 videos on that list that I have, and probably 70% of those are from you guys, and thank you so much for giving me ideas. But when I start writing, I always start by writing a skeleton layout of okay, here's the structure I want to follow. And then and it depends on the length of the video too. The shorter videos I just sit down and write, but the longer ones I always have to lay out a skeleton. And then I flesh it out and stuff, write it how I want to write it, and then I finish it. And then usually with the bigger videos, I'll then take that script, destroy it, and then start completely over again. But that way, I know the ideas I had in the first script, but then can rewrite them in a new way that flows better. Because once you write down a whole script initially, now you have all the information on the table. Now you have all of it in your head. Now you can start over again, put it all in the better order and better way of phrasing things and stuff. So that's how I usually write the scripts. Where do you get your science? The internet. And I did well in school, science classes, except for chemistry. But so I do a lot of the science math equations myself, though there have been a few times things have been over my head. So I've asked various Reddit boards for help, and I've asked Sci on 4chan for help. And yeah, because sometimes things really do go way over my head. How do you find an idea for a theory? I think I mentioned this earlier. Yeah, 70% of my theory ideas are from you guys. And thank you so much. Otherwise, so now whenever I play games, if something doesn't make sense, I'll be like, that doesn't make sense, and then I'll try to think of some answer for it. Or oftentimes, it'll just start as a joke. It's like, haha, that guy's gonna be this thing in the plot twist. And then you start researching it, and then you're like, oh, that's actually possible. So the ones that are mine originally, my ideas originally, they just kind of happen. One idea leads to another, and eventually you just start making connections and so forth. Otherwise, 70% of them are from you. Being a YouTuber who blew up semi-recently, who gave you your big break? What gave you the initial momentum you needed to get your channel growing? Gnoggin has a fun little history about that. So when I started Gnoggin and stuff, it had its slow phase for sure. I went from I started with 3 subscribers because I had a few anime music videos up already that I assume got 3 people interested. But then from there, I slowly grew to maybe... I think I was at 900. Like, so it took me like 5 months to get to 900. And then from there, I did a collab with Proto Mario. And so that's a thing that I definitely recommend to YouTubers. Though it depends on your skill level for sure. I mean, not to be mean or anything, but I have been asked many times to do collabs with people that don't have the right skill set. You get what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to sound mean, but you need to have a lot more practice. You need to be able to show that you're at the same level, or, you know, close enough to the same level as the person you're going to collab with. Definitely, if you want to get your channel growing bigger, try to do collabs with other channels, because that helps you bring your audiences together. But I have to say, I was definitely super lucky to be able to do a collab with Proto Mario, who was very large at the time. And then I did that, and I literally went from 900 to 5,000 subscribers almost overnight. Like, it was over the span of like a week. So that's not almost overnight at all, but that's the idea I'm trying to get across. So my initial big break was all thanks to Proto Mario, and still that's always going to be a piece of history for Gnoggin and Proto Mario. Thank you so much. And then later we did another collab, but that one didn't give me as big of a boom because I was already bigger by then. After that, things definitely slowed down, and then I kind of stagnated again around 50,000 subscribers. And then from that point, it was slow progress. About a year went by after that, so Gnoggin at that point was like 2 years old, and then that summer hit, and so I passed 100,000 finally, slowly but surely. Eventually, after gaining like maybe 20 subscribers a day, sometimes I had like a 60 subscriber a day jump, but slowly but surely I got to 100,000, and then I exploded. I don't know what happened, but it was summer, and I went from just passing 100,000 to 200,000. Almost 200,000. I went from like just passing 100,000 to 180 over summer. And then immediately after that, things slowed way down again. So I have no idea what caused that one, aside from kids being on summer break, and so they just now discovered my channel because it's summer break, and then they're like, whoa, your stuff's cool, and then they subscribe, and they show it to their friends. And if you're one of those, thank you so much. If you subscribed over the last summer, thank you so much, and tell me like how you discovered Gnoggin and such, if it was over summer, because I exploded last summer, so, and I have no idea why. So luck, I guess, is a big part of it. I know there's a lot of channels that don't do that well, even if their content's really good. What games do you play that you don't talk about on the channel, and which is your favorite, Nintendo, Xbox, or PlayStation? I play a lot of games that I don't really mention on the channel, because my channel, I've noticed, is mostly Nintendo for sure. But Nintendo's probably only a third of what I play, probably. I mean, you see my collections of games all the time in my videos, and like, this is just my Nintendo shelf, except for this one, that's PS2 games. But like, I have tons of games from almost every system, because I play tons of games from almost every system. So it's like, if you can think of a popular game, I probably play it. And if you can think of a semi-popular hidden gem, I probably play it. Yeah. Nintendo, Xbox, or PlayStation? PC. If you need me to say a console, I don't know. They're all their own category. Console war. I've never really been super into, ooh, PlayStation's the best, Xbox is for bros and they suck. I've never really been into that, the whole console war thing. I think it's silly. But personally, PC's up there, and then Nintendo and PlayStation are together. I've never really been into Xbox, just because it's like most games that aren't on PlayStation, or most Xbox exclusive games are only console exclusive Xbox. By that I mean the good ones, the ones that I actually want to play. The good Xbox exclusive games are console exclusive, so they're also on PC. I have PlayStation for all the PlayStation exclusives that are all games that I actually super really like and want to play that Xbox doesn't have. So I've never really bothered picking up an Xbox. I have a 360 now, but that was because I got married and my wife has had a 360. Why do you have so much borderline Rule 34 art in a select few of your videos? I seriously kind of think you have an obsession. Not that I'm judging you. What do you think would happen if your channel didn't use clickbait thumbnails? My idea with clickbait thumbnails is, well, I mean, first of all, clickbait. I mean, I'd be lying if I said I didn't want clicks on videos, because that's literally what I do for a living, and like, if you ever upload a video on YouTube, you want people to watch it. Otherwise, why are you uploading it to YouTube? Upload it to some Google Drive or something. So my logic is, if your video topic is already clickbaity, you might as well just go all the way with the clickbait on the thumbnail and stuff. So like, I mean, I don't purposefully make clickbait videos for the sake of clickbait videos and getting attention grabs and getting all the subscribers pulling in. Oh, money, money. No, I make videos that I want to make, or that get asked a lot. Even if I don't necessarily want to make a certain video, if a lot of fans are asking for it, I'll still do it anyway. But with the clickbaity videos, there's still topics of things that I want to cover. I just decide to go the extra step and make clickbaity thumbnails to go along with them. But yeah, I understand that people don't like the clickbait thumbnails sometimes. I, for one, do sometimes, because I'm weird. Also, it helps me recuperate from lost time spent working on videos. For example, like I have tons of video ideas for super clickbaity videos, but again, not because I'm making them because they're clickbaity, because they're topics I want to do, but I have them in a little category on my list that's subtitled clickbaity videos, use in case of emergency. And that's what I mean by that. So I had just spent tons of time working on that super big Donkey Kong Great Ape War video. Spent tons of time on that, like a week of my life went into making that video, and then it ends up not doing that well. I was bummed. So I was like, okay, well, to make up for that, I'm just going to make one of these clickbaity videos and go ahead and make a clickbaity thumbnail, because I gotta recuperate all that lost time. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to pay my bills this month. I'm not sure if this is helping my case or hurting, but like, I'm trying to get it across as best I can. Like, I'm not trying to exploit anyone with clickbaity thumbnails. I just know they work, because obviously, marketing 101, hello, they work. So yeah, it's still a topic of a video I want to do anyway. It's still something I'm interested in. It's not like I'm selling out and just doing videos that I know sell well, as opposed to things I want to do. It's legitimately still me, no difference. It just happens to be a clickbaity subject. And so I decide, clickbaity subject, clickbaity thumbnail. What's your biggest personal insecurity that you had to overcome while creating and maintaining your YouTube channel? I know that's probably common, but personal fear of just not being good enough is, I mean, I still think that. Literally every single time I click the upload button, I'm worrying and stressing out about this video isn't good enough. People are gonna hate me. Yeah, definitely that one. That is my biggest insecurity. And it's still an insecurity of mine to some degree. I've definitely mostly gotten over it, but it still comes up every now and then if I think a video isn't my best work. Because I've always, throughout all of high school and college, I've always been slightly full of myself, because I've always been amazing at school except for that time in chemistry. I've always done fantastic work. I was a bunch of people's go-to guy for help and stuff. And that, like, fills your self-esteem levels, but that's just in your local group, people around you. When you start dealing with people on the internet, that's completely different. That's a much greater world out there. You have a lot of other people that are around you that could very easily put you down. And so, I mean, not necessarily hate comments are my biggest insecurity and fear, but just in general, I worry I'm not good enough. Which is why, like, a personal motto is never stop improving. Because if you stop improving, then you suck. So, and maybe that's hurting me, but I don't know. Did you ever regret coming into the YouTube business? Also, what does your family think of you doing stuff about video games on YouTube? I'll be honest, I have had the thought of maybe YouTube wasn't the right choice for me. It's always a temporary thought that goes away after some time, but Sometimes I'm just stressing out so much over a video. I mean, perfect example, that Jar Jar video I just did. Oh my word. I spent wake up, start working until bedtime, go to bed, next day, wake up, start working until bedtime. That the amount of stress and time that took and caused me was... I was so worried that video wouldn't be worth it because of how few views it would get. It wouldn't be worth all the time I was putting into it. And looking at it, I'm happy that it has the views that it does, but it might not be worth that amount of time that I put into it. But at the same time, what was the question again? Right. Yeah, I occasionally regret coming into the YouTube business, but then there's always someone that perks me back up. If it's some other video that some other person did that just cheers me up, or if it's a YouTube comment. What was it? I mean, I'll be honest again, I've had a lot of depression spells in the last 2 months. All over this, my career choice, the amount of stress it causes, the amount of time it takes, and all that. And when I was like in the middle, like at the lowest point of that depression and stuff, I got a YouTube message, and maybe I shouldn't say who it's from. That might be weird to put out in the public, but it was just one YouTube message by itself, and it was just, Loxton, I just wanted to say that I think you are super adorable, and I love your videos. That is all. Have a wonderful rest of your day. That was it. And that took me from probably the lowest I've been in recent years to, I mean, not the highest, but pretty high up there. It just pulled me right out of it. And that makes me not regret it. And I don't think I'll ever really regret it again, unless something terrible were to happen. But thank you. Thank you all. Are you happy? It may sound cheesy, but I think it's an important question many haven't asked. Yeah, as I've said, I've had my depression spats and all whatnot, but in general, and right now, in like the last few weeks, I am very happy. And I am thankful that I'm in this position. I don't want to get super sappy or anything, but thanks, guys. I'm just speechless. I am happy. Thank you so much for asking. How long does it take to make a single Gnoggin video? Depending on the length of the video. Quick example, Jar Jar video, 60 plus hours. Autism and Smash video, probably 30 hours. Furries video, maybe 35 hours. But most of my videos, maybe 6 to 8 hours. Maybe 10 if it's editing enhanced, like it looks especially better than the rest of them. The more vloggy style ones, like this, aside from the actual recording, which sometimes takes way too long, only take like maybe an hour or two. What are your thoughts on the Metroid Prime Federation Force and Blast Ball? I'm sad. Though, I also feel like we shouldn't pass judgment too quickly. I mean, this is the same thing that happened with Wind Waker. Everyone was all upset that it's a cutesy, kids-style Zelda game, and now it's like one of the greatest Zelda games of all time. I mean, not that I'm saying Federation Force is going to be like the greatest Metroid game of all time, because it almost certainly will not be, but I think we're being too harsh on it. We need to try it first. Then we can say it's the worst Metroid of all time. What helps you concentrate for a long period of time while editing, gaming, etc.? Apparently, as in according to a lot of my friends, I have a very long attention span. I don't know how to explain that any better, but I just naturally have a much longer attention span. I can do something for a long time and not have a problem with it. Whereas, like, I mean, just as an example, I've marathoned games accidentally. Just because I never got bored with them. Just playing them non-stop, hours upon hours on end. The longest one I've done was like 20 hours straight of Team Fortress 2. And all on the same server. It was a randomizer server. Will you be planning on attending any cons? I'd love to eventually be able to attend every single convention that's relatively close to where I am. But it's not really possible for me in my current life situation. I just can't afford it. And to end this, I'm going to answer one more person's question. So many. Okay, I'm just gonna pick a few. Cold winter. Definitely cold winter all the way. I switch a lot between my mains. Right now, I've been mostly in the mood for Captain Falcon and Wario. I'm 5'11". I don't know the meters conversion of that, but yes, I'm 5'11 and a half, sometimes 6 foot, depending on the time of day. Literally everything every time I click the upload button. Including right now. More than anything, I get asked to do that. And really, it's not something I want to do. Though the few times that I have in recent memory, being the Star Fox video and the Samus Morph Ball Part 2 video, I didn't specifically put like in the description or anything that it's a game theory rebuttal, because I didn't want it to advertise itself as that. It's just, I'm making my own version of something he's done already, but I came to a completely different conclusion. Which, I mean, still, they're all just theories, and there's counteracting theories all the time in science. Did anyone give you any flack for doing rebuttals of game theory? Oh, heck yes, tons. And like, even videos that don't even mention him, I get flack for, oh, you're just a game theory ripoff. Like, my favorite comment involving that was, I don't remember like the name of the person that posted it, but it stuck out in my mind because it was like, wow, this theory was incredible and very well edited and thought out, but I'm going to have to leave you a dislike for just being a game theory ripoff. My friend called you a game theory ripoff. What do you have to say about that? It's like Coke and Pepsi, NASCAR and F1 racing. They're similar, but they're not exactly the same. I mean, you wouldn't say Papa Murphy's Pizza is a ripoff of Round Table. You wouldn't say Nike is ripping off Skechers. You know, unless your friend only buys things at one store, only has one brand of any particular item he owns, then either he needs to get his priorities straight or he's a hypocrite. Because it's one thing to be a ripoff. It's another thing to be inspired of, which leads me right into my next question. What inspired you to do YouTube? It was actually MatPat. So, like, I will be the first to say, yes, I was inspired by him. That does not, I mean, that would be like saying JonTron is a ripoff of AVGN. That would be like saying Kid Icarus is a ripoff of JonTron. That'd be saying that Pro Jared and PBG and Space Hamster and all of them are ripoffs of JonTron, who is in turn a ripoff of AVGN, who is in turn a video game reimagining ripoff of the Nostalgia Critic. Like, do you watch any of those people? If you do, you are watching ripoffs, so there is no reason. And plus, people have been overthinking video games, or maybe not video games specifically, but have been overthinking comic book characters and movies and stuff since like the 70s. If you honestly think game theory was the first one and isn't ripping off anybody, then you have a problem. And I mean, there's no such thing as originality anymore. Everything is a ripoff of anything nowadays. This is just one of those topics that gets to me because people are dumb. But as for specifically what inspired me, like, I had always wanted to do a channel like this for years. I just never bothered, I guess. But then it was Game Theory's video on crossovers that finally, because he asked all of his fans, which that was before he even had like 50,000 subscribers, I believe. But he asked all of his fans to continue his crossover web and, like, see how far this goes, because it's awesome. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do that. And then I did. So my very first Gnoggin video was description if you want to know the equipment I use. Which leads me right into Games Grabber. Games Grabber is a cool website to help you manage your collections of games. From games you own, to games you want, games that you think fit a certain genre that you want to show off to someone, anything really. Plus, it saves links to all of them for you to buy later. There's a link in the description for you to check it out, and maybe give me a follow on there. How did you get associated with Games Grabber? Basically, long story short, I get approached a lot via email for promotions and sponsors and all that. I mean, I could, if I wanted to, accept all of them, but then there'd be an ad, like an in-video ad in every single one of my videos for something different every single time. I don't want that. I'm sure you guys don't want that. And, but the reason why I went with them was because I legitimately think that site's cool. Having a place to put collections of games, to have some layer of interactivity with my videos. So like, I'll have a top 10 video and I'll say, and I have honorable mentions on my Games Grabber page. So it's a good way to have a level of interactivity. I said that already, but yeah. And at first, because I had never heard of the site before they approached me, so I was a little skeptical at first. But then I saw that they also sponsor Kid Icarus, who I love, so I was like, sure. I mean, he's doing it. I love that guy. What software do you use to edit your videos? I use Sony Vegas Pro 13, and I have other programs that I use on the side sometimes to like help with certain things that Sony Vegas is kind of weak on, and I have all those on my Games Grabber collection that I mentioned earlier. Will you ever do more of your game theory rebuttals? Probably not. I mean, it's not... I don't want to be known as the guy that makes game theory rebuttals, so that's why I've been... I mean, when are you going to do an AMA? Right now! Is this the first question in the video? No, Gnoggin. Okay, let's see. How am I going to do this? Start with the fun ones, or start with the serious ones, the personal, or the channel ones? I don't know who. Do you have a shiny Pokemon? I don't actually. I've never had one. Kinda sad, but that's the situation. What game do you prefer? Minecraft or Terraria? Definitely Terraria. Do you have any pets? I sadly don't. I had a Chinese algae eater for a long time. It was like the greatest fish ever. It would, like, I've never seen a fish actually play before. It would roll rocks around the bottom of the tank a whole bunch, and like it had a few tetras as buddies in the tank, but they eventually died because tetras don't live that long, but Chinese algae eaters live forever. But it did eventually die, and in time too, like, as horrible as it is to say, like, it died just in time, right, like a few months before I had to move. And now at this apartment that I'm living in, I'm not allowed to have pets beyond, like, fish or lizards or something. And my roommate actually has a lizard.
It's a lizard! Leopard gecko! His name is Ichi, and it just squeaked or something.
What equipment do you use for making your videos, including equipment to capture audio? I actually get asked this question a lot, so I have a collection that I link to occasionally in my Games Grabber page that is just all of the equipment that I use and have used and use today, and it's all up to date. I haven't gotten anything new since. Actually, I have. I'll have to put that on immediately after editing this video. So yeah. There's a link that is continuing that crossover web that he asked everyone to do. So, like, really, I'm just listening to what he wants, and you should, if you're a fan of him, you should also want what he wants. But then, of course, years later, people on those videos that were posted immediately called me just, oh, this just proves you're an even bigger ripoff of game theory because you have a crossover series, and Trailer Drake has a crossover series on the Game Theorist channel. It's like, mine have been around for so much longer than that. I can't be a ripoff of something that didn't exist back when I made it. Why did you start YouTube, and how long are you planning to do it for? Well, I just mentioned the inspiration, but as for specifically the why, because I was bored over summer. One summer. And so, like, when MatPat asked all of his fans to continue his crossover web, I was like, yeah, I'm bored. That'll be the project that I do over summer. And how long do I plan on doing it? Until I get bored. Which doesn't seem to be anytime soon. Or if something forces... Why, I'm blown out. Hello, white balance. Hello. There we go. Or until something forces me to leave. Like if YouTube crashes or something. Is Loxton your actual name? Yo, Loxton, is that your real name or just an alias? Fun story about that. Loxton was a name I created for my internet self in freshman year of high school, so that was like 6, 7, or 8 years ago? I don't remember. It's been so long. But it actually takes my real name, which is Austin Lockwood, takes the first part of my last name and mixes it. I'm not sure if I'm doing the hand motions correctly, but takes the first part of my last name, last part of my first name, merges them together into the new name.